Should you learn Hiragana? Should you learn Katakana? Should you learn Kanji? These are things that I asked myself a long time ago when I started learning Japanese. And for good reason, because when you start learning these other things, kanji, hiragana, katakana, you're taking up a lot of your time learning these things and you're not actually learning the language. Now, debatably, you could say the writing system is the language, and I think you'd be right, but you're not learning how to have a conversation with somebody. You're not learning how to speak to somebody. You're not learning how to order at a restaurant. So if you're spending more time learning things like, especially kanji, because there's 2,000 different common kanji, are you really using your time wisely when you're learning Japanese? And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. So a lot of you may have wanted to start learning Japanese. Maybe you want to watch anime. Maybe you want to take a little trip to Japan. Maybe you want to move here. You want to live here. You want to work here. So you really want to work on your Japanese. That way, once you get here, you can easily fit into society, because I can tell you without a doubt, if you move here, knowing Japanese is a huge benefit, especially if you're out in the countryside like me. Now, if you're in Tokyo, you could get away with not knowing any Japanese. Wouldn't suggest that. I'd definitely suggest learning at least some level of Japanese, but you could get away with it. But I think we could definitely argue that speaking the language and reading the language, or even writing the language, are two different things, or I guess three different things, right? They're very different things. One is the most practical. It's where you can speak the language and talk to people, obviously. The other ones, you could get by without doing that, ever. So why would you want to learn kanji, katakana, hiragana, thousands of characters that only slow down your progress to actually reaching that level where you can have a conversation, you can talk to people in Japanese, you can watch your favorite anime? Well, there's a few reasons you might want to, and you gotta first ask yourself, before anything else, you gotta ask yourself, what's your goal? Why do you want to learn the language? Do you just want to come here for a quick little trip? If so, then you probably don't want to learn hiragana, katakana, kanji. You probably don't want to learn all that. That's probably not for you, because you're just coming here for a quick trip. You might want to learn things like how to order food. When you check out at a konbini and they ask you, do you need a bag? And then you can answer back to them and say, oh no, I'm good, I don't need a bag, it's all right. But if your goal is anything greater than that, then maybe you want to learn all of this stuff. You want to learn how to read, write, and understand the language. If you want a deeper understanding of Japanese, then it's probably a good move on your part. Now let me tell you a story, because a while ago, me and Chica went to a rokan, which is like a traditional Japanese inn. It's kind of like this place where you go, there's an onsen, they do this community breakfast, and you stay the night. Basically, a traditional Japanese hotel. So when you're at the breakfast in the morning, everybody kind of sits together in the same room, everybody gathers together and you eat a traditional Japanese meal. We were sitting in this room, and I remember there was a guy next to us. And this guy next to us started talking to us. And he was an American, and he just started asking us a bunch of questions. Then he started talking to Chica in Japanese. And she was like, wow, your Japanese is so perfect. And she was really surprised. Even after we left, she was very surprised at how good his Japanese was. But this brought up my questions. I started asking him, hey, how long you been in Japan? What brought you here? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, 20 years. I'm like, that's cool, dude. That's amazing. Like, you've been here a long time. I'm like, okay, so you're really good with the Japanese language, right? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, so I'm assuming you know how to read, you know how to write? And he looks at me, he's like, no, I never learned how to do that. I'm like, oh, wow, really? He's like, yeah, I'm just too lazy. I'm like, lazy? But you learn the entire language. Wouldn't it be kind of easy? Learn how to read, right? He's like, nah, I'm lazy. I got people for that. I guess the dude started a business, so he's got Japanese people to do all the paperwork for him. Cool, great for you, dude. So I had to ask him, okay, if you didn't learn how to read, write, or anything like that, how'd you learn the language, especially 20 years ago? How'd you learn the language? The resources we have today aren't nearly the same as they were 20 years ago. There was far less, Far less. Even today, I don't think there's enough resources to learn the language. I know there's a lot, but I don't think there's enough. So he replies to me, he says, well, I would go to the supermarket and I would point at something. And then the cashier, not the cashier, but the employee would say, oh, gyunyu. And then he would remember that, milk, gyunyu, milk, gyunyu. And he would just repeat it to himself in his head, because when he came here, there were like no resources. And that's how he learned. He would just hear something and repeat it over and over and over again in his head until he remembered it. And you do that with enough words, eventually you start building up vocabulary. You get a basic vocabulary working, then you can start building off of that. So this dude's been in Japan for 20 years, never learned to read or write, doesn't know kanji, katakana, hiragana, and somehow he's managed to survive here for 20 years, no problem. Now when I started learning Japanese, I thought to myself, that looks like a lot. You get a lot of videos on YouTube telling you, oh, learn katakana in 2 hours, learn hiragana in 30 minutes, and all these videos. And I'm going to tell you straight up that it's not going to happen. You're not going to learn hiragana, katakana, or kanji especially, in 2 hours, 30 minutes, maybe a week. If you studied a lot, yeah, you could probably learn it in a week. But all these videos telling you like 30 minutes, 2 hours, an hour, it's just bull. It's not true, unless you have some sort of photographic memory. And I probably shouldn't be walking down this way. You see, we're in the countryside and there's lots of bear attacks happening, and I'm walking into a forest. Oh man. Well, if a bear attacks, I'll just have to fight him off. Just hope that doesn't happen. But all these videos are just BS. Like, it takes a long time. You got 46 basic characters of hiragana, and then there's all the different like variations of that, where the combination characters or the little, whatever you call it, squiggly line at the top, and that changes the sounds. Like, I've learned all of hiragana, katakana, and I know quite a few kanji. Now, maybe you just want to learn the language through Ramoji, which is fine. That's a good way to do it. It's basically the English characters for all these words, and then you can learn the language that way. That's one way to do it. The only problem I have with that is when you learn with Ramoji, there's not a lot of resources out there that support Ramoji. Almost all the resources are in hiragana and katakana, so I think on a certain level, if you want to get into the deeper level of Japanese where you can actually truly have a conversation, I think taking hiragana and katakana out of the equation is a very bad idea. Like, it's not going to benefit you. I heard a cracking sound up there. I hope I don't get attacked by it. So really, my true advice to you is that if you want to learn Japanese, you should at least learn hiragana and katakana. I think those are really good stepping stones. Can you do it without them? Absolutely, just like that old dude at the Rokon that I was just talking about. But there are so many benefits that you get from knowing hiragana, katakana. One thing that a lot of people talk about, and me as somebody who started with Ramoji only and for a very long time stuck with Ramoji, this isn't a problem for me, but a lot of people say that when you learn with just Ramoji, you're going to pronounce things wrong. You're going to say it in the American way with more of an American accent than if you were to just read the katakana, hiragana. Another reason you might want to learn katakana specifically is because there are so many English loanwords in Japanese, so many words that are rooted in English, like for example, kurasumeto. What do you think that is? Kurasumeto. Classmate. Popcorn. Popcorn. Things like that. There are so many. In fact, I think it's like 10% of Japanese is actually English words, just English loanwords. So technically you already know English loanwords. But since katakana is specifically an alphabet designed for foreign words, like English words, whenever you see katakana, you can automatically assume it's most likely, not always, most likely an English word. So when you go to read American dogu and you're looking at a corn dog and there's a sign that says American dogu, you can only assume, oh, that corn dog, they call that an American dog. They call that American dogu. And you can apply that to so many things you encounter through daily life, especially when it comes to like food or things like that. But maybe you don't want to learn how to read, you don't want to write. maybe you're pressed on time. Maybe you've given yourself a goal of like 1 year from now, I need to know Japanese. I need to be able to hold a conversation in Japanese. Well then, I probably wouldn't waste too much time on learning how to read and write. Probably familiarize yourself with the Hiragana, Katakana. But you should be using like more immersion methods, like just listening to YouTube videos of people talking in Japanese, or listening to Pimsleur. There's a course called Pimsleur, and Pimsleur is a really good way where you can just listen, and its whole focus is to teach you how to speak Japanese. Screw all the writing, or you can do Rosetta Stone and turn off the writing. Like, that's an option on Rosetta Stone. And if you do that, then that enables you to learn how to get to a conversational level at a faster pace, because you're not clouding your mind with all this other learning. Like, think about it like this. If you have a giant book this big that you need to learn everything, and about half of it is writing and reading, well, now you're giving yourself like half the work, right? Again, there's less resources when it comes to physical writing stuff that's in Ramoji, but if you stick to things like Rosetta Stone, immersive listening, or trying to repeat words that you hear people say, or, you know, things like that, like Pimsleur, Rosetta Stone, immersion, you do things like that. I'm sorry, we're going up a hill right now. It's a little difficult. But you do things like that and you're gonna learn how to get on a conversational level faster. But if you wanna have that true, deep understanding of Japanese, where you go into the konbini, you go into the Family Mart, you go into the Lawson's, you go walk up and you see that corn dog and you wanna order it, but you don't know the word for it. Now you can read the sign and you can say, American dogu, onegai shimasu. But we need to talk about kanji, because kanji is kind of the elephant in the room. Kanji is the Chinese characters, by far the hardest part of the Japanese writing system that there is to learn. Let me catch my breath, bro. Like, I'm not... Okay, kanji. So kanji takes a very long time to learn. 2,000 characters, incredibly hard. Most of them look exactly the same. Some of them are combinations. Sometimes you got to combine these characters to make words. That makes learning kanji incredibly difficult. It takes a lot of time. It's not easy. It's probably going to take you almost as long to learn kanji as it would take you to learn your first 2,000 Japanese words. People in Japan literally struggle with kanji as adults because it's that difficult. They can't pronounce them all. They don't know what they all mean. Chika, I've shown her some stuff and she's like, oh, I don't know what that means. Sometimes we're in the train station, she's looking at stuff. I don't know what that means. That's stuff that's right out there in the open. Like, kanji is not easy. And if you want to learn and master kanji, like, you can do that. I'd probably, if you really want to do it, focus on the most basic ones, the ones that you see often, and then kind of grow from there. But really, I don't think you need to learn kanji out of the gate, especially if you're a beginner, because kanji is way too difficult, bro. Like, it's really not easy. I think that's something like, you think about a child, when you're a child, did you learn how to read first, or did you learn how to speak? What's the first word that came out of your mouth? Mama, dada? Did you write that before you said it? Probably not, I doubt it. So I guess what I'm trying to say, and the point that I'm really trying to make, is if you're learning Japanese, you need to figure out what your goals are, what your long-term plan is with this language, why you want to learn it. And if it's something like just watching anime, maybe skip learning kanji. Probably still learn hiragana, katakana. I think it's very important because it opens up a lot of other ways of learning. Can you totally skip it altogether? Absolutely, just like that old dude. I think about this guy all the time. He lives rent-free in my head because I was like, dang, I hope in 20 years, like, I'm like this dude. I can speak really good Japanese. And he did it all without textbooks or anything. So if he can do it, then you can do it too. Just think about why you want to learn the language and think about the path that really makes the most sense for you. Do you just want to speak? Do you want to read? Do you want to write? Do you want it all? Do you want to be able to come to Japan and like live here, short term, long term? If it's long term, then start learning kanji. If it's short term, skip it. Skip the kanji. If you want to be here for a year, skip the kanji, bro. Like, you don't need it. maybe learn some basic ones, but just kind of skip it. Learn the hiragana, the katakana, or if you just want to be able to have a conversation with somebody in Japan, you could technically just skip it all. It's really up to you, and you can do whatever you want. Like, I'm not here to like tell you what to do. I'm just kind of giving you some advice. Me personally, I think that in the beginning I was scared to learn these writing systems. Now that I've kind of learned them, or I'm actually pretty good at them now, I'm happy I did. I think it's very beneficial and I can see the benefits to that. But with all that being said, that's the end of the video. I'm a peace out. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe. We're kind of a small channel, trying to grow, but peace.